Well, I think the key theme is around a better deal for workers across both the public and the private sector. So that is around terms and conditions, that's around pay, and that is also around other ancillary issues in terms of health and safety. And also you heard Donovan speaking about some of the treatment of workers in the private sector, particularly in the construction sector. So those are the kind of issues, and we need to kind of focus on better enforcement of employment legislation to ensure that all workers are treated with respect in Gibraltar.
In Gibraltar, we collectively decided to go with the European observation of May Day, which is May the 1st, but it takes us out of step with the UK. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, I think Europe's right in this one, in terms of Workers' Day being a day off for working people. I think the UK is wrong, and we would like to see the UK mark Workers' Day with a bank holiday. We believe it's incredibly important for Workers' Day to be a day off for workers and their families to enjoy. We must remember, of course, there's a number of workers who actually are working on International Workers' Day, including yourself, and we salute those individuals for keeping Gibraltar ticking over on this public holiday. But we long fought for this day to be a public holiday, and we will long fight to keep it a public holiday for working people.
While Unite the Union has put in a collective pay claim for the public sector, it's also negotiating specific claims for various departments and groups. I asked Mr Davies whether he felt that these individual claims might complicate or even jeopardise the global pay claim.
Well, there's two elements here. There's the cost of living increase in terms of people's wages keeping a pace with the cost of living, and obviously part of our pay claim is about the pay claim outstripping the cost of living, because we are looking for pay increases that are IRP plus. That's one element of it, and that's about keeping pay in pace with costs and prices. The other element is looking at individual departments, looking at job design, looking at whether the job has actually moved, developed, looking at job creep and saying, actually, does the job that people do now, does it actually deserve a higher salary than the one that it currently does? And that's why we have these departmental claims in relation to pushing those particular issues. So they are related, but they are exclusive from each other. So, government's been clear, they will accept those pay claims that they believe that are sensibly argued and are sensibly articulated, but their concentration is in terms of cost of living. But we will continue to pursue those individual claims alongside the cost of living increases for everybody.
And you've mentioned, not for the first time, the Gibraltar living wage as opposed to just having a minimum wage. Have you some sort of idea of what that would look like in comparison to the minimum wage?
If you asked me to put a bet on it, I would suggest that if the minimum wage is currently about £8.90, as you know, we think that should be much higher. I would anticipate the living wage would probably come out at about £11.50, £12 potentially, because you're looking at numerous factors. You'd be looking at the cost of housing in Gibraltar and the cost of food, which would drive that living wage up. Then you look at the cost of fuel and the cost of alcohol, which would probably bring that one down. So you look at a whole range of variables in terms of settling on what that living wage is. But as I've said, it's about a living wage that people can not just only survive on but can thrive on. But that's why we need that independent body to look at all those prices, all those variables, and come up with that living wage, which we can then focus on in terms of pay bargaining. And of course employers can then also market themselves as a living wage employer in terms of saying, look, we are progressive, come and work for us.
And the unavoidable matter of Brexit is still looming over us, as you've mentioned. Do you still think that this is the biggest issue that we are collectively facing as workers, as Gibraltar?
Absolutely. I just think there's no question of that whatsoever. Everyone wants this treaty, but everyone wants the right treaty, as we've said. And there are clear red lines, and we do understand government are working hard towards that. Everyone's frustrated at the amount of time it's taking. But I can speak from my own personal experience from living in the UK. Brexit has been an unmitigated disaster. So there is nothing good to come out of actually exiting from all the relationships with the European Union. So that right deal is absolutely critical for Gibraltar.